I once met a billionaire who had everything money could buy, but when I asked him, "Are you happy?" He paused and with tears in his eyes said, "I don't even know what happiness feels like anymore." On the other hand, I met a simple rickshaw driver who earned just enough for the day, but every evening he would take a portion of his little earnings to feed street dogs. When I asked him, "Why do you do this?" he smiled and said, "Because when they wag their tails, I feel like the richest man on earth." The difference, my friends, is not in the amount of money, but in the amount of meaning. Shift the question may sound like just two simple words, but the truth is they carry the power to completely transform the way we live our lives. Think about it. Most of us grow up asking ourselves questions like, what can I get from this situation? What can I receive from this person? What can I gain if I work harder? If I connect with this person? If I chase this opportunity? Our focus is so deeply wired towards getting that we hardly ever stop to think of the opposite. What can I give? This small shift in the question we ask ourselves can take us from a life of emptiness to a life of true fulfillment. Let me give you an example. Imagine you walk into your workplace every morning thinking, what can I get out of today? How can I get recognition from my boss? How can I get my colleagues to praise me? Very soon, you will realize that this constant desire to get something makes you restless and dissatisfied because the world does not always operate according to our wants. Some days you will be appreciated, but many days you will not. And when you are not, you will go home feeling empty. Now imagine if you walked into that same workplace with a different question in your heart. What can I give today? How can I contribute to this team? How can I bring a smile to a colleague's face or lighten someone's burden? You may not always get recognition, you may not always get praise, but what you give will fill you with a quiet joy that no one can take away from you. When you shift the question, you shift your experience of life. Think about family life. So many people enter relationships thinking, what can I get from my partner? Will they make me happy? Will they support me? Of course, love and support are important, but when two people only think about what they can get, the relationship starts to feel like a constant negotiation. Each person is waiting for the other to fulfill their needs. But the healthiest relationships are built when both people walk into the relationship asking, what can I give? What can I give to this person to make them feel loved, respected, and cared for? That shift changes everything. Instead of being a relationship of transactions, it becomes a relationship of transformation. This secret works even in small, everyday moments. Picture yourself in traffic. Most of us get frustrated because we think, I want to get home faster. I want the road to clear for me. But what if instead we thought, what can I give in this moment? Perhaps I can give patience. Perhaps I can give way to another car. Maybe I can choose to give calmness to myself instead of adding to the noise by honking. This doesn't make the traffic disappear, but it changes how we experience it. Instead of being consumed by frustration, we feel more in control, more at peace. Let me share a real-life example. There was once a school teacher who would wake up every morning exhausted because she felt underpaid, unrecognized, and drained by her students. Her constant thought was, What am I getting out of this job? The answer was always disappointing, and her energy sank lower and lower. One day, after a talk she attended, she decided to change her inner question. She said to herself, "Let me focus on what I can give. Maybe I can give encouragement to that shy student in the back row. Maybe I can give an extra smile to the student who always feels left out. Maybe I can give more patience when I feel irritated." Slowly, something shifted. The students began to respond with more enthusiasm. She felt more connected to her work. And even though her salary didn't change, her satisfaction did. All she did was shift her question. The beauty of this principle is that it doesn't require wealth, power, or position. It doesn't matter whether you are a CEO or a janitor, a student or a homemaker. Everyone has something to give: your time, your smile, your patience, your encouragement, your kindness. And when you live with the question of giving, you discover that life gives back in unexpected ways. When you constantly live in the mode of, "What can I get?" life feels like a race where you are always running, but never satisfied. But when you live in the mode of, "What can I give?" life feels like a journey where every step has meaning. This doesn't mean you stop caring for your needs or ambitions. It simply means you no longer allow your happiness to be dependent only on what you receive. You learn to create happiness by what you contribute. So the next time you find yourself in any situation, be it at work, at home with friends, or even with strangers, pause for a moment and ask yourself, "What can I give here?" It could be as simple as giving your attention to someone who feels ignored, giving gratitude to someone who served you, or giving forgiveness to someone who hurt you. These small acts may seem insignificant, but they are the true building blocks of a meaningful life. When you shift the question, you shift your entire perspective. Life is no longer about chasing, comparing, or competing. It becomes about creating, contributing, and connecting. And in that shift, you will find that the happiness you were running after was within you all along. It just needed to be unlocked by the power of giving. That is the strength of asking the right question. That is the secret of true transformation. Joy of service is one of the most underrated treasures of life. People often think happiness comes only when we achieve something big, buy something expensive, or accomplish something extraordinary. But the truth is, some of the deepest joy comes not from receiving, but from serving, even in the smallest of ways. Service is not always about grand charity or massive sacrifices. It is about those everyday acts of kindness that create ripples of positivity around us. Think about a time when you helped someone carry their heavy groceries, or when you gave your seat to an elderly person on the bus, or when you offered a genuine smile to a stranger. Did you notice how that small act lifted not just the other person's mood, but also yours? That glow you felt inside is the joy of service. It's proof that the human heart is designed not just to consume, but to contribute. Let me share a simple story. There was once a young boy who noticed his neighbor struggling to rake dry leaves in the yard. Without being asked, the boy picked up an extra rake and started helping. It took them less than half the time, but the smile on the neighbor's face stayed for hours. Later that day, the boy told his mother, "I feel so happy today, but I don't know why." His mother smiled and said, That happiness you feel is the happiness of serving. Even a child can recognize it when they experience it. In our daily lives, we are often so focused on deadlines, targets, and personal gains that we forget the power of simple service. A doctor may treat hundreds of patients in a day, but the joy he feels when he comforts a nervous patient with kind words is something beyond his paycheck. A student may be busy preparing for exams, but when they take a few minutes to tutor a struggling classmate, the satisfaction they feel is unmatched. Service adds meaning to every role we play in life. It turns routine into purpose. The beauty of service is that it doesn't have to be material. You don't always need money or resources to serve. Sometimes, giving your time, your attention, or your presence is more valuable than anything money can buy. How many times have we met people who were struggling emotionally, who didn't need solutions but simply needed someone to listen? By offering your ear and your heart, you are serving them in a way that no amount of wealth could. Think about relationships. A husband may buy expensive gifts for his wife, but if he never listens to her feelings or supports her dreams, the relationship may still feel empty. On the other hand, a husband who offers his service through kindness, attention, and care, even without fancy gifts, creates a bond that is rich and unshakable. Service in relationships means asking, how can I make life easier, lighter, or happier for this person I love? When both partners serve each other this way, the joy multiplies. The workplace, too, is transformed by the joy of service. An employee who only works for a paycheck may feel tired and drained. But the employee who says, how can I serve this team better? How can I make my colleagues' lives easier? Discovers that work becomes more than a job, it becomes a contribution. Leaders who serve their employees earn respect and loyalty that money can never buy. Companies built on a culture of service thrive, not just financially, but emotionally as well. One of the most powerful aspects of the joy of service is that it creates a ripple effect. When you serve with joy, people around you feel inspired to do the same. A single act of kindness can spread far beyond what you see. Hold the door for someone, and they may carry that kindness to the next person they meet. Encourage a colleague, and they may go home and encourage their child. Service multiplies itself, often in ways we may never know. But here's something important. Service is not just about helping others, it helps us too. Studies show that people who engage in acts of service experience lower stress, greater happiness, and even better health. Why? Because serving others takes us out of our own worries. When you're busy making someone else's life better, your own problems shrink in size. It's like lighting another person's candle. Their flame grows brighter, but your candle doesn't burn any less. It shines even more. I remember once visiting a hospital where volunteers were serving food to patients' families. Many of these families couldn't afford meals. I saw one young volunteer handing out plates of food with such joy, almost as if he was serving his own family. When I asked him why he did it, he said, because when I see their smiles, I feel like I've eaten too. It feeds my soul. That is the essence of the joy of service. It nourishes you in ways nothing else can. Service also connects us to something bigger than ourselves. When we serve, we realize that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger human family. Our joys and sorrows are interlinked. When we give, we are not losing, we are gaining a sense of belonging, of purpose, of meaning. We rise above the narrow boundaries of me and mine and step into the vastness of us and ours. So, the joy of service is not just a feel good concept, it is a way of life. It is waking up every morning and asking, whose day can I make better today? It is going through life not with the burden of what we lack, but with the blessing of what we can offer. Whether it's offering a helping hand, a kind word, a patient ear, or simply a smile, service transforms not just the person receiving it, but the person giving it. When we understand this, we stop looking at service as a duty or obligation and start seeing it as a privilege. Because to serve is to touch lives, to bring light where there is darkness, and to discover the most beautiful secret of all, that the surest way to be happy is to make someone else happy. That is the everlasting joy of service. Meaning over money is a principle that goes straight to the heart of what truly makes life worthwhile. In today's world, it is easy to get caught in the belief that money equals happiness. We see advertisements telling us that buying this product will make us more attractive, owning that brand will make us more respected, or living in a bigger house will make us more fulfilled. Yet, if money alone guaranteed happiness, then every rich person would be overflowing with joy. But we know this is not the reality. Many wealthy individuals feel lonely, stressed, and restless, while many ordinary people living simple lives radiate contentment and peace. The difference is not in the money, it is in the meaning. Take the example of someone who works day and night in a high-paying corporate job. On the outside, they may appear successful, nice clothes, expensive car, luxurious apartment, but inside they might feel hollow. They come home late, too tired to spend time with family, too exhausted to pursue passions, and too distracted to enjoy life. They have money, yes, but the meaning is missing. Compare that with a school teacher who may earn far less, but finds purpose every day by shaping the minds and futures of children. Every smile, every moment of progress from her students fills her with satisfaction that no paycheck can match. The teacher has chosen meaning over money, and that choice makes her life richer in a deeper way. When we chase money without meaning, life becomes like running on a treadmill. We keep moving, but we never arrive anywhere. But when we focus on meaning, even the smallest steps feel fulfilling because they carry weight, purpose, and direction. A nurse caring for patients may not be making as much as a stockbroker, but the gratitude in the patient's eyes is a currency of joy that no bank can store. A parent who sacrifices personal luxuries to give their children love, attention, and values is creating wealth in the form of strong bonds and lasting memories. This kind of wealth cannot be measured by numbers in a bank account. This does not mean money is unimportant. Of course, money is necessary. It provides comfort, security, and opportunities. But money without meaning is like a body without a soul. It may look alive, but it is empty. Imagine attending a grand wedding where everything is decorated beautifully, but the people are fighting and unhappy. The money spent creates an appearance, but not the true joy. Now imagine a simple gathering where families come together with love, laughter, and connection, even if the decorations are minimal. That experience has meaning, and meaning makes it memorable. Meaning comes from knowing why we do what we do. If you work in a company only for the salary, Monday mornings will always feel heavy. But if you work because you believe your efforts are contributing to something greater, whether it is serving customers, supporting your team, or building something valuable, then even Monday mornings carry energy. When you see the connection between your actions and a larger purpose, you discover motivation that money alone cannot buy. Let's think about friendship. Some people keep friends only because of benefits, connections, favors, status. Such friendships are fragile because they are built on money or advantage. But friendships built on meaning, trust, loyalty, shared values are priceless. A rich person surrounded by people who only care for their wealth is poorer than a simple person surrounded by genuine friends who care for their heart. In the end, money can buy company, but only meaning can buy true companionship. Consider also the difference between spending money for pleasure and spending it for purpose. You might buy the latest phone and feel happy for a few days, but that happiness fades as soon as a newer model comes out. But if you spend the same money to sponsor a child's education or help someone in need, the satisfaction you feel lasts much longer because it is rooted in meaning. Money spent on yourself quickly disappears. Money used with meaning multiplies its value in your heart. I once heard of a man who left his high-paying corporate job to start an organization that provided clean drinking water in poor villages. People asked him, "Why leave such a secure career?" He replied, "Because every paycheck gave me comfort, but every drop of clean water I provide gives me life." That man discovered that meaning gives a kind of wealth that money cannot. He may not have lived in luxury, but he slept peacefully knowing his life mattered. At the end of our lives, we do not measure our worth by the size of our houses, the cars we drove, or the money in our accounts. We measure it by the lives we touched, the love we gave, and the legacy we left behind. No one on their deathbed says, "I wish I had made more money." They say, "I wish I had spent more time with my loved ones. I wish I had lived a life of purpose." That is the power of meaning. It gives value not just to our years, but to our moments. Meaning over money is about remembering that money is a tool, not the destination. It is about asking ourselves, does this action add value to my life and to the lives of others? If the answer is yes, then it carries meaning, whether it makes us rich or not. And when we live this way, we discover that meaning itself is the greatest wealth. So, while money can fill your pockets, meaning fills your heart. Money can buy you things, but meaning gives you joy. Money may allow you to exist, but meaning allows you to truly live. And when you choose meaning over money, you unlock the real treasure of life, a treasure that grows the more you share it. Ripple effect is one of the most beautiful truths about life. Whatever we do, no matter how small, has the power to spread far beyond what we can see. Just as a single stone thrown into a pond creates ripples that travel across the water, every word we speak, every action we take, and every kindness we show sends waves of influence into the world. Often we underestimate our power because we think, what difference can one small act make? But the reality is, one small act can ignite a chain reaction of goodness that transforms lives. Think about a smile. You smile at a stranger on the street, and in that moment you lift their mood. That stranger, feeling lighter, goes home and treats their family with more patience. The family, in turn, feels happier and carries that joy into their work or school the next day. That one smile, so simple, so effortless, may have reached dozens of people through its ripple effect. You may never know the full extent of its impact, but it is real and powerful. There's a story about a man who used to stand on a busy road every morning, simply waving and saying, "Good morning," to people passing by. Many ignored him, but some responded. One day, a young woman stopped and said, "You don't know this, but your good mornings kept me going during my darkest days. I was depressed, and your cheerful wave reminded me that life still had kindness in it." What started as a small greeting turned into a lifeline for someone struggling. That is the ripple effect in action. Even negative actions carry ripples. Harsh words spoken in anger can ruin someone's entire day, and that person might pass on their frustration to others. That is why it is so important to be conscious of the energy we release into the world. A kind word can inspire kindness. A cruel word can spread bitterness. The choice is always ours. Do we want to create ripples of hope or ripples of hurt? In families, the ripple effect is especially visible. Parents may not realize how deeply their words and actions affect their children. A child who grows up hearing constant criticism may carry insecurity for years, but a child who grows up with encouragement and love carries confidence and resilience. The ripple continues when that child becomes a parent and passes the same patterns to the next generation. This is why being intentional in our daily actions matters so much. Our ripples don't just affect today, they shape tomorrow. The workplace also thrives on ripples. Imagine a manager who begins the day by appreciating their team. That small act of recognition motivates employees, who in turn treat their colleagues and customers with more positivity. The entire environment shifts. On the other hand, if a leader constantly criticizes and finds faults, the negativity spreads quickly, creating a culture of fear and resentment. The leader may think they are only addressing one person, but their words ripple through the whole organization. One of the most inspiring examples of ripple effect comes from acts of service. There's a famous story of a teacher who encouraged one of her struggling students, telling him, "I believe in you." That student went on to become a successful doctor, dedicating his life to saving others. In interviews, he always mentioned that one sentence from his teacher as the turning point of his life. The teacher probably didn't even realize how powerful her words were. But her ripple transformed not just the student's life, but the lives of everyone he served as a doctor. The ripple effect teaches us that no action is too small. Holding the door for someone, giving directions, complimenting a coworker, helping a neighbor with groceries, these little gestures may seem insignificant, but they plant seeds. A seed of kindness planted today may bloom into a tree of compassion tomorrow. You may not see it, but someone else will benefit from it. And when enough people choose to spread positive ripples, the entire community, even the world, begins to change. What's most remarkable is that ripples often return to us. The kindness you show today may circle back to you years later in unexpected ways. There's a story of a man whose car broke down in the rain. A stranger stopped to help him, asking for nothing in return. Years later, that same stranger found himself in a hospital in need of urgent help. The doctor who came to his aid was none other than the man he had once helped on the roadside. Life has a way of returning our ripples. This truth also reminds us to never underestimate the power of example. When you choose kindness, others watching you, whether your children, friends, or colleagues, learn from you. They may begin to act kindly because they saw you do it. Your life becomes like a pebble dropped in the pond, creating circles of influence that spread far wider than you ever imagined. In difficult times, the ripple effect gives us hope. You may not be able to solve every problem in the world, but you can create small ripples of change in your own corner. Smile at the tired cashier. Encourage the young student. Listen to the elderly neighbor who feels lonely. Each act may seem small, but together they create waves of goodness. The ocean, after all, is made of drops. When we recognize the ripple effect, we start living more consciously. We realize that every choice, every action, every word carries weight. We stop underestimating ourselves because we see that even our smallest contributions matter. The power to create change is not only in the hands of leaders, celebrities, or billionaires, it is in the hands of every ordinary person willing to act with kindness. The ripple effect is a reminder that we are all connected. What I do touches you, what you do touches another, and together we shape the world. We may never fully see the reach of our influence, but that should not discourage us. It should inspire us to make every ripple we create a positive one, because in the end, the legacy of our lives is not just in what we directly accomplish, but in the countless unseen ripples we leave behind.